they go Dukes of Hazzard on it all the time. You just you don't know. Or was it driven to the grocery store once a week by a little old lady?
In our last video, we talked about deciding which van might be the best fit for you. Once you've decided which van, you have to go buy it, and that can be super intimidating. This video is a detailed checklist on how to actually go test drive a van. So we are gonna walk step by step through what you should be looking for and some red flags. The first thing you'll want to do is look for any signs of body damage. Do the panels line up, and are they all the same color?
Check behind the gas cap for signs of like overspray, if it was repainted.
Check under the vehicle for rust, especially along the frame and also in the wheel wells. Not a deal breaker, but it can be a pain to fix. You'll also want to check the brakes for signs of rust or uneven coloring.
So even before you test drive the van, you're going to want to take a look underneath the hood. So things you're going to check for is like check the air filter, make sure like the basic maintenance is getting done.
Take a good look under the hood. Are there wires running everywhere? Are clamps and hoses in good shape? Are there any fluids visible? And does the battery show any signs of corrosion? Check the fluids. They should be topped up and relatively clean. Look at the brake fluid, the power steering fluid, engine oil and transmission oil, and the coolant.
And then finally, before you're going to test drive, just check and grab one of the radiator hoses. You want the engine to be ideally cold when you go for a test drive, because sometimes like the engine can make a funny noise on startup that goes away when it's warm. Another thing you want to check before the test drive is to make sure there's no engine lights, check engine lights, any error codes or pending error codes or incomplete monitors. And a monitor is like a self-check that the vehicle does to make sure all its components are working correctly. And if that is incomplete, that means the ECU has been reset recently. That could be completely benign and they were working on the van, or it could be an unscrupulous seller trying to hide a fault in the vehicle by resetting the ECU and hoping the code doesn't come up during the test drive. So you can use one of these inexpensive, I paid $25 for this code scanner. A lot of times auto parts stores will check it for you, so if you want to zoom down there as part of your test drive. So codes found 0. Read codes. So here's a code that did not illuminate the check engine light yet, but so this is a pending code. So I have a mass airflow circuit low, mostly because I unplugged it to show you guys what a code would look like. So you just want to look through and make sure everything's okay. My evap system's incomplete because I had the battery disconnected a while ago. You want all your monitors to be okay. Codes found 0. Incomplete would be 0 as well. If you're going to be really thorough and take a look at the vehicle, you would measure the compression of each cylinder. But most of us are not going to do that, especially in a van, because the engine's like down here and hard to get to. So one of the things you can do is particularly on GM vehicles, is do a relative compression test, which is where you put the engine into a mode where it does not put any fuel in and crank it. So you can crank it with an extended period of time. And what you want to listen to is make sure the cranking speed is consistent. If the cranking speed is consistent, it means that you have even compression against all the cylinders. If you have it like speed up and slow down, it might mean there's a dead cylinder, and on a V8 you may not notice that if you don't know what you're looking for. So we'll try that right now. You press the gas pedal all the way down and crank it. You hear how it's running pretty smooth, which means the compression is pretty even all the way across.
Start the engine, listening for any squeals, ticking, or weird noises. Wait to make sure all the dash warning lights go off. Run through all the gears, making sure they work as expected before getting on the road. Test the parking brake by engaging it and putting the vehicle in reverse or drive. It shouldn't move. Test the ventilation system to make sure all the fan speeds work. AC should blow cold, and heat should blow hot once the engine is warm. Make sure defrost mode works and that air is coming out near the windshield. Turn the radio on. Do the speakers work? Do they rattle? Test windows and locks. Check the headlights in all of their modes and check the brake lights for failure. Windshield wipers should work through all of their speeds.
In your test drive, see if you can hit up a whole bunch of different road types: interstate, highway, freeway. Get up to speed, see what it feels like, hit some bumps.
Gravel roads,
Gravel roads, bumpy roads, because that'll help you identify if there's anything that squeaks or anything like that. So when you first start driving, just keep an eye out for any weird noises, rhythmic bumping or clunking or clicking noises.
Do some slow turns to see how the steering responds. Look for dead spots or slop.
Get it into all the gears. Make sure it goes into each gear smoothly. And in all reality, you shouldn't have a really hard time like identifying when it shifts, which is good. If it like lurches in or like doesn't go in until you rev it up a little bit, it could be a sign of some issues with the transmission. Keep an eye on the gauges when you're driving. Voltage should stay pretty even. Temperature should be 200 range, and your oil pressure should. It's not unusual for it to jump up when you rev the engine up, but it shouldn't like drop down to like 10 pounds or something. And when it's safe to do so, give it some gas. Make sure it doesn't do any weird shifting, and when you step on it, take a look in the rearview mirror. Make sure there's no smoke. If you're test driving a diesel, a little bit of black smoke when you step on it is not unusual. And that's another point. You don't really want a vehicle that's been like modified for performance reasons. The original manufacturers put in a lot of effort and a lot of time to make these things last a long time, and adding like an extra 100 horsepower because you can. They would have done it if they could safely. Remote car starters, like aftermarket remote car starters, are probably a big no-no. I know they're super nice, but a lot of times the people who install them don't put as much care into the wiring as you would hope. And years down the road, it causes nothing but issues. When you get back, make sure the engine's still running smoothly. Turn off all the fans and the radios. Make sure you don't hear any like clicking or thumping or anything like that that could indicate a problem with the engine.
We've also never bought a vehicle without both of us test driving it. And part of that is because we both drive all of our vehicles, and we just like try to make decisions as a team. So if you have a co-pilot, you might want to make sure that they also get a chance to drive it before you buy, because they may absolutely hate the way it drives. Lastly, ask the owner if they have any maintenance records. Our van had a ton of documentation, including every single oil change, all 23 of them. It also had a record of a transmission rebuild just 30,000 miles ago.
If you don't feel comfortable with doing this all yourself, you can always take your car to a local, well-respected shop. They'll go through it like a fine-tooth comb, they'll do everything that we've talked about today, and you can have peace of mind. As always, we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have in the comments below. In our next video, we're going to talk about planning for your van once you've purchased it. If you don't want to miss it, hit that subscribe button and we'll see you there.